This month, we're exploring curiosity as our superpower. And last week, we talked about when our curiosity leads us outward and to venture into that infinite field of possibilities to discover something greater than we've ever known. It takes us out of that comfort zone. And we draw our courage, strength, and clarity by being anchored in the divine, right? By those qualities of God that are within us, the infinite invisible, that is our quality, because we are made from the divine. Our true self is a part of that divine. And so we anchor ourselves in the divine by taking time for our spiritual practice, by to look inward and experience the power and the presence of God, meditation and Tai Chi, or whatever it is that takes us when we align the body, mind, and spirit. Well, today we're going to focus on what happens once we go within and we discover our true self. And so the title today is Inquiring Minds Want to Flow. Flow, that feeling of being one with the universe, right? So what is flow? Well, what is the last time that you remember just time standing still while you were doing something that you truly loved, right? Everything seems to just fit together perfectly. We're one with the universe, one with nature, with our bodies, with our minds and our hearts. There's no tension. There's just no resistance from within or from without. This is the state of consciousness that the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi calls flow. And it's an optimal experience of what he calls joy, creativity, and the process of total involvement with life. Perhaps you've experienced flow when you skied down a mountain. I can remember in a day when I was just one with the snow, with the trees and the sky. My body was just moving without conscious thought as it responded to the terrain. My knees were like springs going over the moguls, and it was just an amazing day. Just that Kodak moment that is one of the things I go back to in my life. But maybe you experience flow when you're playing with your children, right? Enjoying their total joy as they do when they're totally in the moment, and you play and discover all the new things that they're discovering. Watching Charlotte's baby, as it learns to just flail its arms around it. Isn't this great? I can make noise and I'm so free, and it's wonderful. Maybe you experience flow when you were painting the mountains rising above the lake, or you were painting or cooking a new recipe, or maybe it's singing a song or listening to an inspiring song or a symphony. Perhaps you were creating an architectural design, right? Perhaps you experienced flow when you were just lost in conversation with a dear friend, just in that moment, right? And so this moment, as we explore curiosity as our superpower, our curiosity calls us to seek and discover our true self, our higher self, and our divine purpose. Each of us is endowed by our Creator with unique talents that we can develop and share with the world. With all of humanity, we can help make the world a greater place. When we are in tune with our connection with that one source of life and our unique expression of that one life, we can let go and let that divine creativity and joy just flow through us in this moment, right? What we have been seeking is seeking us. There's nothing to search for. There's nothing to find. There's nothing, no mountains to climb. It's just being in that moment, right? As if we're in total harmony with all that is. And our curiosity is what can lead us to our divine purpose. Something we want to know a little bit more, something that intrigues us, something that just is interesting. How does this work, right? And so how do we discover that divine purpose? Well, our purpose in life is also known in Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and Jainism as the law of Dharma. Now, Dharma is a Sanskrit term that has several meanings depending on its context. It's a little bit difficult to understand until you get it. But the word Dharma itself is derived, it's from the Sanskrit word dhr, which is DHR, and it means to hold or to support. And combine that with the Latin word firmus, which means stable or firm. So together, Dharma means roughly to hold firm. Right? Now, at the global level, Dharma means the right way of living that will maintain the cosmic law and order of the world, of the universe. At the individual level, the law of Dharma means discovering and living out our personal purpose of life. Deepak Chopra eloquently described the goal of following the law of Dharma in his book, The Seven Spiritual Laws, the Seven Spiritual Laws of Success that Carol shared with us this morning. He said, everyone has a purpose in life, a unique gift or special talent to give others. And when we blend this unique talent with service to others, we experience the ecstasy and individual exaltation of our own spirit, which is the ultimate goal of all goals. Right? Now, Chopra explains that the first component of the law of Dharma is that each of us is here on this planet to discover our true self. When we go in and inquire about our true self, we discover that we are an integral part of that infinite life that is God. We discover that our true self is spiritual because we are spiritual being having occasional human experiences rather than human beings having occasional spiritual experiences, right? Now, this is a really powerful realization. It means that we are and have always been part of the divine. You know, we're not reaching out towards God and hoping to get just a glimpse of the divine, you know, and maybe if we're good today, God will be good to us. No, we are a part of God. God has always been with us, waiting for us within, waiting for us to discover who we truly are. And this changes everything about life when you understand this and realize it. Ernest Holmes often spoke of this inner awakening to our spiritual self. In his book, Freedom from Stress, he said, it seems that man exists for the purpose of self-expression. There appears to be no other reason or excuse for his being. The infinite has already implanted within man an instinctive intuition, which is the spiritual knowledge of good, and his whole growth results from an inner awakening. It's an inner awakening, right? Now, the second component of Dharma that Chopra talks about is once we awaken to our true self, to discover and express our true talents, right? So essentially, when we're looking for our purpose in life, our Dharma, we are asking, what is my reason for being? What is my unique reason that I'm here? You know, it's not a question that we can answer with our intellect. You know, it's not someone else can tell us what the answer is. It's something that has to be answered from within by our soul, right? Our purpose in general is that we are an absolutely magnificent and unique expression of the divine, exactly as we are and as we are not. Right? We are not in competition with anyone else. There is a divine calling deep within us that is just waiting to be discovered and expressed in a unique way that only we can. Right? And if we don't share our gifts, those gifts are never to be shared in our own unique and individual way. The world will be somewhat lesser because we haven't shared our gift. So the third component of Dharma is service to humanity. And this is when we use our gifts to serve our fellow human beings. And so how do we discover how we're called to serve? Well, one way is to align our conscious awareness with spirit through meditation, spiritual practice. We've talked about that. And this is how we listen to the voice of spirit that's within our hearts. That, you know, that still small flame that is always there waiting for us to pay attention, right? And turn up the flame a bit. Now, another way, though, is to ask the question, how can I help? Now, the question, what's in it for me, is the ego's question. And there's a lot of people in the world that their question is, what's in it for me? Right? You know, and when you're sitting on the dock of the bay, perhaps, and just, what do I need to do for me? All right. You just seems pulled in all these different directions. What's in it for me? What do I have to get out of this? Well, when we shift to how can I help? Then we go beyond our ego to that domain of spirit, of being one with all that is and our higher self, our higher purpose. And with that consciousness, we can discern our life's purpose because we are all part of that one life and we are each part of it. Just like my thumb and my foot, they are each supporting me to be all that I am. And we are each part of the whole of life. We're all unique. We're not all the same, thank God. We're not clones of each other. We need each other. And that's part of the beauty and wonder of life, right? One of my, since this is February, the month of love, I want to bring in the idea of how flow and love come together. And Lao Tzu has a wonderful saying that is really touches me. He said, being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage, right? And so when we love someone, when we reach out to serve, how we can help humanity, when we're serving from that love. And, when we're serving from the ego, there's only so much of us, we get depleted. And, and we have people in our lives that go through times when they need our assistance. And so we give and we give. And how do we keep on giving? Well, if we're giving from ourselves, we get depleted. But if we are anchored into spirit and we are anchored into that love, that divine infinite love, that infinite power and wisdom and understanding, then we're full to overflowing and we can share that with the world. And that's what it feels like to be in the flow, because there is this infinite flow in and out, and it circles back and around, and that's part of being one with all that is, right? And so that's where the courage comes. That's when we know that it's more than us that is here to serve. It's the divine. It's the whole universe has my back and your back and all of us, right? One of my favorite books is called The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukav. And he writes about what it feels like to discover our life's purpose and carry it out. And this is what he says. When the deepest part of you becomes engaged in what you are doing, when your activities and actions become gratifying and purposeful, when what you do serves both yourself and others, when you do not tire within, but seek the sweet satisfaction of your life and your work, you are doing what you were meant to be doing. The personality that is engaged in the work of its soul is buoyant. Right? It's that infinite flow. It's the feeling of being in that flow because we love what we're doing. Now, an example of a man that living in the love of what he was doing was Thomas à Kempis, which means literally Thomas from the little town called Kempis. Now, he was a monk with a group called the Brethren of the Common Life. He lived from 1380 to the 1471, so the Middle Ages. But this was a very tumultuous period, right? There were constant wars. There were bouts of the Black Plague everywhere. So life was very tenuous, and you never knew what was going to happen. There was the Catholic Church was one of the great powers back then, but there was this great papal schism that occurred when several competing popes were deposed or resigned, or and finally in 1417 they got rid of all the existing popes from different places that were in different Vaticans or whatever the equivalent was. In 1417 they appointed Pope Mark V. So anyway, they appointed a new pope that started uniting things, but it was still the Middle Ages, right? Now, shortly after the new pope was appointed, Thomas began writing his life's work, a book called The Imitation of Christ. Now, this is a book as a devotional classic that he used to instruct novices in the spiritual life, because he was the assistant to the prior in his monastery, and that was his job. Now, Thomas found safety and purpose in his spiritual life, in his writing, and in copying manuscripts, because the printing press had not been invented. He copied the Bible 4 times, and one of those copies is still in a library. And the Gutenberg Bible was not printed until 1455, after he had towards the end of his life. So this was part of what he did. Now, Thomas held that humility is the highest value. He said, if you want to learn something that will really help you, learn to see yourself as God sees you and not as you see yourself in the distorted mirror of your own self-importance. Right? He said, we must imitate Christ's life and his ways if we are to be truly enlightened and set free from the darkness of our own hearts. So essentially, he's saying that when things are going on out here that we can't control or making us crazy, or just we can't, we're feeling, our ego is really feeling put upon. He was saying that we want to anchor ourselves in that Christ consciousness within. We talked about that, this below the iceberg, below the surface, the qualities of God. And when we imitate the qualities of Christ, we will discover those highest possibilities for our life, right? We will discover that we're a part of, connected to the divine. Now, Sir Thomas More was the famous chancellor, Lord Chancellor under Henry VIII. He was born shortly after Thomas died. And he said, for him, The Imitation of Christ was one of the 3 books that everybody should own. He thought it was that important. And this devotional is still beloved, and it's been translated into 50 different languages. So his work, just writing for these novices, teaching them, is something that is still enjoyed many centuries later. It was his purpose in life, his dharma. So here's a passage that Thomas wrote that demonstrates his understanding of how living his life anchored in love gave him freedom and meaning for his life. Love is a mighty power, a great and complete good. Love alone lightens every burden and makes rough places smooth. It bears every hardship as though it were nothing and renders all bitterness sweet and acceptable. Nothing is sweeter than love. Nothing stronger, higher. Nothing more fulfilling in heaven or earth. For love is born of God. Love flies, runs, and leaps for joy. It is free and unrestrained. Love knows no limits, but ardently transcends all bounds. Love feels no burden, takes no account of toil, and attempts things beyond its strength. Love sees nothing as impossible, for it feels able to achieve all things. It is strange and effective, while those who lack love faint and fail. Love is not fickle nor sentimental, nor is it intent on vanities. Like a living flame and a burning torch, it surges upward and surmounts everything. So it's February, the month of love. Consider that we experience flow when we love what we are doing, when we are fulfilling our life's purpose. Kahlil Gibran eloquently described working with love in his book of poetry called The Prophet. Let me read what he said. When you work, you are a flute through whose heart the whispering of the hours turns to music. And what is it to work with love? It is to weave the cloth with threads drawn from your own heart, even as if your beloved were to wear that cloth. Right? It's a giving of yourself. And so love is a key part of the vision for the Center for Spiritual Living Tahoe-Truckee. Our vision is embracing all and serving with love while awakening to the one. That is a powerful vision that calls all of us to create a community hub in North Lake Tahoe for spiritual practice and awakening, for spiritual community. Now, working with love is the difference between living a life which seems empty and unfulfilled, a life where challenges seem overwhelming, and a life where events unfold with grace and with joy. A life when we awaken to recognize the spiritual magnificence of of the divine in each and every person that we meet. It's a life where we experience the presence and the power of infinite love that is embracing us and flowing in us and through us and as our thoughts, words, and deed. Working with love is to live in harmony with all the universe and with all of life as one. The Apostle Paul spoke of the power of being awakened to who we are as spiritual beings in 2 Timothy 1:7 when he said, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline." So let's allow our curiosity to take us beyond what we have known before, beyond our fears and beliefs that have kept us stuck. And let's dive into that center of the river and let ourselves be carried by the current, jump in with both feet, our whole being, and be in the midst of the flow of the divine love and life itself. And that is a very good place to be. Let's take this to prayer. And so in this moment, whatever has been going on, we let go and turn within to that place deep within our heart of hearts where spirit dwells. And as we do, it is like we are coming home to a place that we have always been seeking and has always been there waiting for us, calmly, smiling, kind of that Buddhist smile. And that spirit welcomes us. Welcome, my beloved child, welcome. All that I am is yours, and all that you are is a part of me. I love you just as you are and as you are not. I have created you to be this being that is a light to the world, to share a part of me with the world, to share the joy and love and wonder of being alive, of being in this moment, to share the love of being alive, to whatever work you do, do it with love. Allow yourself to be directed to rise to those higher heights, to be all that you are, rather than playing small, play great, and to be a part of that divine magnificence. Awaken to your own divine magnificence and to share that with all others and to help them awaken to their own magnificence and that wonderful lifting up of each other, that play of love flowing back and forth and around and through and lifting us all up, of transforming this planet. And we know that that love is now present everywhere on this planet, in every heart, in every mind, in every action. And so we cast away the fear and let it dissolve, because there is no power greater than that divine love. And so every nook and cranny of our being is now free and vibrating with light and joy. Our curiosity sends us out in new directions, and we discover wonderful new things. We discover spirit waiting for us. We discover a part of ourself that we had never known about before. And it is so good. And as we look out at the world, we bless each person. Whatever is going on in their life, if they're dealing with illness, we know that their body is a divine creation that is following it, using its own natural immunity and strength to heal and to grow stronger and to express that life more fully, more perfectly right here and right now. We know that there's healing of ankles and shoulders and cancer and viruses, and it is all that divine the surface is cleared away and that divine strength is revealed. We know that cars that have protected us and done their job are easily repaired or replaced and to their next new yet to be. We know that our cats and dogs and are all cared for as part of that divine expression of life perfectly, healed and held in the arms of spirit. We know that as people travel, whether it is a short distance or a long distance, that they are safely guided and protected. God, watching over God. I am so thankful to know that this is the truth of life, that we are each guided to see our purpose, to know it, to discover it within, and to express it within and without. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for your loving presence, that we know that power of presence of God and let go and let God be the truth of who we are right here and right now. And so it is, and so we let it be.